This is Hack the Sat, helping you find the tips and tricks to ace these standardized tests. Alrighty, so let's do the test. You can find this on the College Board website or linked in the description below. Print it out and get prepared. So the first question, here we just have a bunch of formulas. So usually they start out with a softball. Looking at this, it looks like a pretty simple plug and chug, so just go ahead and do that. K equals 2, 3. X minus 1 equals 9, x equals 10. So D. Very simple. Alright, number 2. Remember to analyze the question type first. This deals with imaginary numbers, so it may be good to know that the only 4 results of imaginary numbers exist. But this is a simple sum question, so actually we don't really need to know that. All we have to do is add correctly. Remember, group the reals together and imaginaries together. So easily that becomes A. Question 3. Algebra question here. This is about linear rates. Very simple, but we have to make sure to match the correct person with the rate. Armand sends type P messages at 5 per hour, and Tyrone sends P with 4. So as long as you match these up, you'll be good. Careful, watch out for D because it's actually flipped. So the correct answer is C. Question 4. More algebra and rates. We have to analyze this equation. Remember that linear equations take the form y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept, and it's like the start or initial amount of something. Choice B talks about an initial rate, and is actually the only one to do so. Starts each week with 108. So the m in mx plus b is representative of the actual rate, and x, which is d in this case, is the independent variable being changed. As long as you know what this is, you'll easily be able to distinguish. Alright, question 5. More sums. SAT wants to really test your ability to do parentheses and subtraction. So remember, when adding, you can just drop the parentheses, but when subtracting, you actually have to flip every sign that's inside of the parentheses. So minus becomes plus, and plus becomes minus. Now, there are a bunch of weird x and y variables. Some are squared and some are not. It can get confusing real quick. Something that I find really helpful, instead of doing it in my head, is to underline, box, whatever. Make the common variable stand out. And this will really help you group easily. So in this case, I would like underline the x squares y, and here circle the negative or the y squared, and squiggly line the xy squared. And this way it's much easier to group and see it. And this should give you C. More linear equations in algebra are coming with question number 6. I'm telling you, they love this stuff. Reading this, they give lots of info, but the only info that they're really trying to get you to answer is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year. Yup, this last line. IC per year per anything is talking about a rate. So as we already talked about, the rate is represented by the m variable and mx plus b. In this case, it would be 3a. Question 7. Yo, more tricky algebra. They love this stuff. This question looks nuts, but just focus on the one thing you want to solve, p. The question asks you to give this in terms of p, so that's really the only thing you should be focusing in on. Thus, it just becomes very simple algebra. Remember, dividing on both sides really just flips the equation. So just isolate everything away from the p, divide it, and flip the equation. Easily, this should become the answer B. Alright, number 8. These questions are very tricky, and at first look, they seem kind of confusing as well. But for something this simple, it looks like plug and chug would be good. But it's kind of hard to do that in this case. Take a step back. All you have to do is rewrite a over b. Take a look at it. A over b is a fraction, which can also be written as 2 over 1. Well, over here, they have b over a. So if you just flip it, b over a would actually become 1/2. So then it just becomes 4 times 1/2, which just simply equals 2. Easy, C. Number 9, systems of equations. Absolutely fundamental to algebra. There's so many ways to do this. Neither x nor y really look easy to solve, so we could do either. But here's a test tip. Look at the answers real quick. You can use process of elimination to see what could be the best way to go. There are two answers, C and D, with the same y options, as seen here. If y was actually -6, we then have to solve for x. That's extra work, but all the x options are different. So if we directly solve for x instead, we can basically just move on and not bother checking for y. So let's do that. So we are going to solve for x first. So we want to make the y same and eliminate them. 3x plus 4y equals -23. Let's multiply this row by 2. We get -2x plus 4y equals -38. Eliminate by subtracting, so 5x equals 38 minus 23. That should be 15. X equals 3. Has to be B. Number 10, more algebra. So g of 4 equals 8 is given. This looks like a nice plug and chug, but we don't know what a exactly is. We can solve for that, but once again, it's useless. Look at the question. It's asking if it was -4, not 4. This looks complicated, but just look at the x variable in the actual equation. If you were to plug it in, it's squared. Knowing algebra, anything squared will be positive. So 4 or -4, it should yield the same result when squared. No change. Answer is A. Number 11, more systems. It never gets old, lots of reading. But we just need to see when beef equals chicken, so B equals C. Set them equal and solve. Simple, I've already done it. X equals 4, and you can plug x into either the B or C equation, and you should be able to get the same result because they should be equal. So the answer should be D. Number 12, some algebra graphing. Very simple. You got scratch paper in your booklet, so the simplest thing is really just to draw. The line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope, so origin, slope of 1/7. That's y over x. Make sure you do that. Alright, 1/7 right here, and then just extrapolate from that. Which of the following points lie on the line? Looking at the choices, 14, 2, D looks like the correct answer after plotting it. 13. Oh yeah, another tricky algebra question. This one just looks whack. We're trying to find an alternative way that this equation could look like. It does give us a precondition x greater than 3. Remember, we need preconditions, generally for division, to make sure we don't have divide by 0 problems. In this case, -2 and -3 are big no-nos because then you would get like 1/0. So x greater than 3 assures us this is true, but otherwise it's pretty useless. This is just a simple rewriting expressions, so we can just do that real quick. As you can see, I did my work over here. Oops, I missed a squared, and the answer should be B. 14. Alright, more tricky stuff. This at first glance just looks weird and impossible, but if you can't find something to do at first, just search for similarities and go from there. In this equation, we can see that 8 over here can actually be written as 2 to the third, 2 cubed. Now using law of exponents, remember you can subtract the exponents of fractions. So if we do that real quick, so 2 to the 3 to the x over 2 to the y. Remember law of exponents, you can multiply that out. So that's going to be 2 to the 3x over 2 to the y. And then law of exponents again, subtract two things with the same base. So 2 to the 3x minus y. Boom. Now you can use the first thing they gave you, 3x minus y equals 12. Just sub it in right here. So then you will get 2 to the 12. Answer is A. 15. Foil time. On the left, we have something that needs to be foiled. And on the right, we presumably have the result that they have given to us. So I just go ahead and foil it down here. We need to find the middle value of c. Well, we are given that a plus b equals 8, shown right here. And after foiling, we can actually see that a times b over here has to equal 15. So ab equals 15. So these are the things we have to work with. Since we have choices, we can just try some values that satisfy both. 3 and 5 come to the top of my head because, 3 plus 5 equals 8, and they also multiply to get you 15. And it actually works. So it will give you the answer D. If you just plug in 3 and 5 into this equation, so let's just have a 3 here and a 5 here. So that'll get 21x plus 10x is 31. So that's one possibility. If you do 5 here and 3 here to get c, the middle value there, you would get 35x plus 6x equals 41. There's your two choices. Alright, so that concludes the multiple choice section. Now it's time for some bubbling section fun. So question 16, more algebra. This is a simple solve. Solving, we can see that t has to equal -2 or +2 after factoring. We'll just do that real quick. Alright, see, there we did it. But beware, look for the precondition t greater than 0 that they gave you. So because of this, only 2 is good. Watch out for these tricks and make sure you bubble in 2, not -2. 17. Triangles and geometry. Anytime you're doing geometry, it's super important to label stuff and draw. So let's get labeling. They gave us on the sketch, CD happens to be 1800. Oh wait, no, timeout. Be aware there's a lot of reading on this section. So AB is 1800. EB is 1400. BD is 700. And CD is 800. Alright, AC and D intersect at B, that's good to know, and AB equals CDB, the angle they already told us, and they have the same measure. So what is the value of x? Well, since we're given triangles, using triangle equalities and similarities can really help us in this scenario. So since we know these two rectangles are similar by angle, as we see there, we know that their side lengths must be proportional to each other as well. So if you actually just like flip this triangle over this way, you would actually get the exact same similar triangle. So you can write a proportion for it. So this 700 would actually match up with this 1400 if you were to flip it around. You just got to visualize it a bit. So 700 over 1400, the same sides. Alright, now you can take the base length of the triangle, which is going to be 800 on the first triangle. So the top is the small triangle. And the bottom is going to be the base of this longer triangle, or this bigger triangle. Alright, so you get this, very simple, x should equal 1600. Alright, question 18, more systems. This question wants us to solve for x, but eliminating x here is so easy since they're already the same. We could eliminate y, but then we need to manipulate an equation which is extra. So eliminating x, we can get y, which we can easily plug into the first equation and get 7. So we can just subtract real quick. That should be a fairly simple process. So if we subtract, we get y equals -25 minus -9. That's going to equal for -16, right? I can do math. Yep, okay. Alright, so that, and now we have y, right? But we actually want x. Be careful about that. So you can just simply plug it in. Very simple equation to get x. X minus 16 equals -9. X equals -9 plus 16. That is going to be 7. Answer should be 7. Okay. Number 19, trig. Now trig isn't deeply covered on the SAT since that's like pre-calc stuff, but if you know your sine cosine rules, it's very easy, this question. But to be honest, I actually don't have them memorized efficiently at the top of my head. So let's just draw this, since it's all about geometry. And it's actually quite simple if you draw it. So these trig rules, they work with right triangles. So let's just draw one. Okay, in the right triangle, one angle measures x. So let's just say this is x, okay? And sine, so that's opposite over hypotenuse, is 4 over 5, okay? Ooh, immediately, I can see that this is going to be a 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triple triangle. That's just something that pops to the top of my head. It's not totally necessary. All right, now it's asking for cosine of 90 minus x. All right, so this is 90 and this is x. Remember, triangles have to equal, sum of triangles, sides have to equal 180 degrees. So this is 90 and this is x, then x and this angle here must equal 90. So this is actually 90 minus x. So now it just becomes, what is cosine 90 minus x, or this angle right here? All right, well that's simple. Cosine is just adjacent to hypotenuse, so that's going to be 4 over 5. All right, last one, 20, plug and chug, solve for x. SAT loves to round it off with a solid checking if you know your algebraic manipulations well. And so we can just solve that real quick. This one, a equals 5 times square root 2. So 2 times 5 square root 2 equals square root 2x. Okay, and basically after solving, you should be able to get 100. My work is here. You can check yourself.